Okay, so we were able to render this list over here, and we need to add some spaces, between them as well. So we'll go to our CSS file, have a to-do list, or what we can or to list, and we child as li, right? Margin bottom can be 20 pixels. Okay, perfect. So the UI is pretty simple and very static, and the main focus is on the JavaScript in this video. And if you want me to make some videos on UI as well, then do mention it in the comments below. Okay, so we were able to render this list over here, and now what we have to do is on click of this arrow, I need to remove this item from the list. So I'll add on click and function with handle with event and take on this handle click over here. I think I'll get a event listener. So let me console.log the event selected. Need to add a to do और click करते ही अच्छा it is undefined. Need to pass it over here also. Yeah. So we have a mouse event, and in this mouse event you can see that event dot target dot node name, I guess it is node name. So the node name was a span, this tag was a span, and we were having a id as 217. id 217 is basically the id which we added over here. Span dot set attribute id to do id. So this id is basically the id of the to do item, this to do item, right? So we got the id, we got the node name, and we just need to call our to do dot remove to do on this function click. So it is now pretty simple. All I have to do is if e and if e dot target and if e dot target dot id or e dot target dot um it is node name also equals to span. तो क्या करना है, तो उस केस में नथिंग, आई जस्ट नीड टू कॉल डिलीट टू डू फंक्शन. तो टू डू डॉट डिलीट टू डू और उसमें हमें आईडी पास कर देनी है इवन डॉट टारगेट डॉट आईडी. once this removed, I need to render my list again and again. This is a kind of util function, but yeah, let's check it. We have a b c. Now if I remove c, add a debugger, click c. तो इवेंट में इवेंट डॉट टारगेट, तो आईडी आ रही है क्या? हाँ, आईडी आ रही है, एंड द नोड नेम इज span. Okay, then We are moving into the next function call. To do dot delete to do event dot target dot id call. Okay. To do dot delete to do id is equal to do. Okay, so I think I found a culprit. So upon receiving id in this to do delete to do function, we get the id in the form of string, and whenever we generated our id over here, it was in the form of a number, right? So upon comparing over here, I had a line saying this dot to do id is not equals, so I have a type check over here also. So number was not getting type checked with integer, that returned to a false. So I was not able to delete any item from the to do list. So to handle this case, I think I can parse it into a string, and this might do the case. Okay, have a b c, remove c. Let move the debugger. Okay, A was removed, B was removed, A was removed, and C was removed. Perfect. So we have finished one of the tasks, that was to remove to do from the list. So up till here we were able to implement the add to do functionality with rendering of the elements. Now we have to make sure that whenever this to do is rendered, it is disabled by default, and upon double clicking it, it becomes editable. So what we have to do is we have to set attribute on the input while creation of the to do, and we have to set that attribute as disabled. So what I'll do is I'll do input dot set attribute disable, and the value is empty. So let's check. I think the property is disabled. Yeah. So we have a look in this input. So it is disabled, right? And if I remove this property disabled, then this becomes editable. If we remove this disable, so this part becomes editable and I can edit it. And since the property disabled is applied on this, so it is not editable. So on double click of this element, we need to make it editable. So for that I'm not able to recall the syntax on double click method in JavaScript. So I'll just search the syntax for now. So on double click JavaScript, okay, it is on TBL click. Fine. So we'll add this on DBL click on the UL element. On DBL click, right? And this is this on DBL click is just to make the input as editable. So make input editable, and I'll pass event. The spelling is wrong over here. It's CLI. So I'll create a function I'll pass the event over here, and in this event I have to get the ID as well, right? So we have to set the ID also in the input. So the ID would be todo.id. Okay, and I'll get the ID over here. ID equals to event dot target dot ID. This is what we were doing, right? So I got the ID, and say if not ID, then just return else const input box equals to document dot query selector, and in query selector I'll pass the ID. Okay, and what I do is input box dot set attribute. I think remove attribute. Yeah, remove attribute. I'll do is disabled. This ABL. I think this might do our task. So let me enter. Okay. There was some error. Failed to execute curriculum is not a valid selector. ID is equal to 456. 456. Yeah. Okay, I got it. So I think put let's go plus. Okay, I think this might do the job. So we get the ID as input plus 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 693 to exit. So it says failed to execute query selector on document hash input one. Oh, I see. So this query selector I think uses CSS3 selectors, and we are not allowed to use underscores probably. So I'll just remove this plus underscore from here. See that it is working. Yeah, great. So it is working fine. So this become editable, and I was able to edit it. Perfect. So this is what we have achieved till now. I was able to make this input box editable, and upon clicking this value is being deleted. Perfect. Now the thing is, on press of enter I have to make sure that the changes are saved and the list is updated. So to do that I think I have some hacky way. What I'll do is on input dot set attribute I'll add a on key up, right? On up, and the value would be some function name which we declare over here. So like function on input edit. Okay, and in this I'll receive the event. So on this on key up I have to make sure that on input edit is called with event passed. Okay, and we'll just log out the console to check if it is working or not. I will click edit, and it becomes perfect. Now on inspecting, if you are confused, So the function call is like this: on key up, on input edit, I'm sending the event, which is same like on click, handle click, event. So this is the same thing which we have achieved using the set attribute method. And let's see what I get for enter. Okay, so the key is enter. Okay, perfect. And do I get the ID as well? Event dot target dot ID. Yeah, we have the ID as well. Perfect. I think this is doable now. So what I'll do is, if event dot key, right, event dot key equals to enter, then it, if it is not enter, I think we should return. Okay. If it is enter, then I'll get the ID, const ID equals to document dot nahi, ID equals to event dot target dot ID. And if I don't get ID, if dot ID, and return, then I have const put box, okay, equals to document dot query. I think I get the value as well. Event dot target dot value, it might give us. We have the value also. Okay. So I have the ID. I just need to get the value. Const equals to event dot target dot value. Okay. So what I have to do is, I just need to make sure I need to call todo dot update todo over here. Todo dot update todo ID comma value, and then I'll just make sure I have to call render list. I think this is pretty much we need. Yeah. Oh, okay, the value was not updated over here. Check if id to update todo dot id equals to id dot update. Oh, I see why, because we have a different ID, right? So issue is that the ID over here, right, input 7 not matching with the ID. So I have to get this out from over here, right? I need to get rid of this, or from the ID I can do is okay. So again, this is a hacky way. I might need to uh, get rid of the first few characters, first few 5 characters from index 0 to, so I need to dot splice from 5th character. So splice, I think splice is not the property over here. Acha, I think it is a slice for strings. Let me check. Have a. Oh, nice. Yeah. So slice was the property. I got confused between slice and splice. Okay. So slice is. So what we did is that in input boxes we have IDs something like input 4 to 6, right? So I guess I just got rid of this input text and just got this ID 4 to 6 from there. Okay. So I got the ID, I got the value and I updated the value and rendered the list. Perfect. Now next we can see that upon entering any value in the to-do, field is not getting cleared, and even on end pressing this cross icon nothing is happening. So we must make this input box empty whenever we add any to-do item. To do that, have this uh, input with I get to do input, and we have a cross icon. So first simple thing is that we will create a utility function. Utility have a selector get to do input, to do input dot in, and we have to call this empty to do input function. Click this add to do button over here, which is calling add to do function. On rendering list, just need to make input. Acha, got it. So this input is basically a input box, and we have to set the value or the inner text, because inner text is basically for divs and tags. Okay, here we go. Add. Perfect. Now we have to do the same on click of this cross icon, and I think which can be easily achieved if I just call this empty to do the click of this cross icon, click all this. Perfect. Perfect. And since this cross uh icon over and have a cursor pointer so that we have a look and feel of a cross button. Here we go. Here's something looks awesome. Okay, perfect. Next, let's wrap up this by implementing local storage. So local storage may we have to do not much. Every time we add a to do, right, or every time we render something, right, we render this thing over here and we generate a to do map over here, right, and we basically save values over here. So what one thing we can do is um either in either way we have to save the input array, right, this to do's array basically, right. So whenever a to do is added or deleted, we just need to store the to do's array. To do array is nothing but this thing over here that is having a ID and a value, and whenever is there we get any to do array exist in the local storage, we just need to fetch it on the page reload and render it and update it accordingly whenever we perform add to do or basically remove to do operations. So what we need to do is declare a local storage on the render list. Okay, take. First of all, let us create a utility for call it um, and let's declare a key equals to storage. Now update the storage में will do nothing. We just need to do one thing, local storage set item, and we have a utility function to get to do's, right? JSON dot stringify to dot get to do. Perfect. So what I'm doing is on this utility function I am setting a key which is to do storage, and that to do storage is containing the stringified versions of the to do's array. The moment I render something, right, instead of iterating over to do's dot get to do's dot map, or instead what we can do is, right, um, whenever there is a page reload, our to do array get is empty, right? So one thing which we can do is, upon rendering the list or on the initial page load, right, we'll create a immediately invoked functions, and we'll check that if there's something in the local storage. If there is something in the local storage, then what you need to do is you need to you need to set the to do's, right? You need to set this array equivalent to the value of the local storage. To do this, so we'll create a immediately invoked function, right? The syntax, and over here I'll see that if local storage dot get item have a key, then have to function to set to do's, and what this will do is have the to do over here. Okay, over here I'll do all I do is what I'll call this set to do part const local, and if there is a local to do's, set it. Perfect. And once you have this, all I need to do enter and every time we add any to do, right, have to also set to do's. uh, we have to update the local storage as well. is over here. Call this utility function update storage whenever I am rendering a list, right? Or whenever we are adding a to do. Okay. And there's a chance that we are also deleting to dos on click of it. And again, whenever we are removing any item, example, to do empty node, I remove type and we map over it, so called input edit, and we render the list again. Okay. And add a to do, we render the list again, and have a handle click where we are deleting and we are rendering the list. So we can see that we are calling this function render list again and again whenever we are updating, editing, or removing any to do. So what we can do is, after this, say, hey man, update back to this point, refresh, and I can see I had one to refresh it. To do dot get to dos, the map is not a function. Okay. This is because whenever I get item, I need to parse it into a JSON. I have to do is JSON parse over here, and this perfect. Add one more item, refresh, and I still have the item over here. I remove it, I refresh, and I still have the item. And you can see the local storage. So we go to application storage. Wait, we go to local storage, and we see that in the to do storage I have this ID value storage something something, and whenever I add anything, this is getting updated with the value which I just entered. The moment I delete anything, the local storage is also updated. So this is how we implemented a local storage, retain the value that has been added in the to-do list. We were able to add validations on this input tag. We were able to add a feature to double tap and enter it, and we also get to update it, right? And we have a bunch of other functionalities to edit, delete, add to do, and everything that was mentioned as a part of requirement in this machine coding round. So I hope you really liked this video, and if you have any questions or queries, then do let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer as soon as possible. And if you want me to make videos on any particular topic, then do mention that topic in the comments. I'll be happy to cover that in the upcoming videos. So this was all in this video. See you in the next one.